This is the Classic Auto Mall Show. Broadcast from the studios inside the Classic Auto Mall in Morgantown, Pennsylvania. Just 1 hour west of Philadelphia at Pennsylvania Turnpike exit 298. Featuring nearly 1,000 classic, vintage, and barn-find vehicles for sale under one climate-controlled roof. Now, here's your host, Classic Auto Mall President and the man with all the toys, Stewart Howden.
And welcome. Show number 190 is, as we were just mentioning. How crazy is that? So before we get to our guest, we have a wonderful guest today, by the way.
We do.
Yes, we do. And so we won't waste much time here. But I want you to give me the guess of how many we got in inventory today.
Like I said, not last week. I'm going to go 940.
You are so weak. 923.
Oh, okay. Not bad, not bad.
Yeah, we're selling more than we're consigning, so, not the end of the world, right?
Right.
But if you have a consignment, bring it, please.
Absolutely.
Like today. 900
cars, still the greatest indoor car show in the country.
Absolutely. So let's get right to our guest today. We want to welcome via Zoom Wayne Carini. Good morning, Wayne.
Good morning, Stuart. How are you today?
Fine. After all these years we've been talking about doing this, it is so hard to get schedules to work and mesh and all that, and we're all busy, right?
All busy, all over the place, but I'm happy to be able to do it today.
Absolutely. And you just got back from a bucket list place, Goodwood, which, if it's not on your bucket list, you're not a real car guy, right?
It's been on my bucket list for many, many years, and I finally pulled the trigger this year, and I'm so happy I did because now I will continue to go back, and we're talking about Goodwood.
Right.
So I was at the members meeting 2 weeks ago with the Audrain Museum from Newport, Rhode Island. I was there with our friend Donald Osbourne.
Yep.
and many, many others, Nick Waller and his wife. And so just a wonderful experience going over there. And then we had dinner on Tuesday night with His Grace, the Duke of Richmond, Charles, who's just a wonderful guy.
Wow.
Actually, I sat next to him at dinner, so
nice.
there was only like 14 of us that had dinner with him that night, and so it was a very unique experience.
Sure.
And a mission accomplished. So one of the things I wanted to do is I have a Porsche hill climb car that won the Mount Washington hill climb record and set the record in 1961. And it's been my dream to bring that over and run it up the hill over at the Festival of Speed.
Right.
And in front of the Duke's house. So I sat next to him at dinner. I asked him, and he said, "Bring it next year. I'd love to have it."
Oh,
so,
fantastic.
Mission accomplished.
Well, and if I didn't really realize hill climbs, how fast people actually go on these things. There's one up in Reading, just north of us here. There was one in Hershey. There's the one at Goodwood. Those guys aren't messing around. It's not, just a Sunday drive up the hill. It's all out.
That's right. You got Pike's Peak, of course, the big granddaddy of them all. And then, you got Mount Equinox in Vermont. And then you had New Hampshire with Mount Washington.
Yeah.
And so hill climbs, and I have actually run at the Hershey Hill Climb when the Elegance car show was going on there. So I ran there for 3 years in a row, I think it was. And so it's a lot of fun. And you're not going wheel to wheel. You're just going against your own time and against other people's times as to who is the fastest guy up the hill.
Sure,
kind of cool.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to believe in this day and age that they would even allow that to happen because they're mostly public streets or roadways, except for, I guess, at Goodwood, but mostly.
Yeah, it's the Duke's driveway. So
how long is his driveway? What, 3 miles?
It's a pretty long driveway. Yeah, it's about a mile long.
It's amazing those castles and those estates over there in Europe. I mean, literally big enough to host this type of an event is just amazing. How many acres that place has got to be.
So the Duke of Richmond, Charles, he owns 17,000 acres. And so he has a huge horse racing track there also, which is world renowned.
Sure.
Of course, Goodwood's, racetrack, which was in the family. And a lot of people think, well, they just built a racetrack. I mean, it's been there since the 30s.
Wow.
And then during the war, it was used as an Air Force base. And so it's actually got a runway, and that's where they based a lot of their missions was out of Goodwood.
Wow.
And then it was revived as a racetrack again. It's a very interesting, a very cool place. Then we went to the castle in Belem, which the Duke of Marlborough, he's the head of that castle, and it's all being revamped right now. And he's he's a Ferrari nut, so he has a huge Ferrari collection, and so we had lunch with him one day, and so it was an unbelievable experience.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's one of those things that you try to absorb everything in. You're trying to just record everything in your brain that's going on, and it's not always easy to do that, I would imagine, because you get caught up in the moment, right?
Well, the racing is spectacular, and going around and visiting so many people, and getting to meet so many people. I'm very fortunate because people recognize me, and so I get opportunities that a lot of people don't get, to sit in cars and go for rides and stuff like that.
Sure. Well,
on Friday night, though, and I'll just end this. The Friday night was a black tie dinner for I think 300 people.
Right.
At the Duke's his castle, and so we arrived at the dinner, and at 8:00 there was something special was going to happen, and so at 8:00 the main foyer of the entrance was parted down the middle, and they rolled this red carpet out. And I thought, what is, King Charles going to show up or something?
Exactly.
And the Duke opens the front doors, double front doors, and 10 motorcycles blast through the house. Racing motorcycles come up the ramp and zoom right down through the crowded people. It split apart. It was the most wonderful thing. You're in the right place when somebody allows race motorcycles to come in the house.
Yeah, I mean that just tells you everything you need to know, right?
It's on Facebook right now, and people get a chance to look at it.
I can't wait to check it out.
It's spectacular.
You're talking about, doing your show, Chasing Classic Cars. I don't know, 17 seasons you did that. Was that, oh my God. How did you find time?
Actually, 18 seasons, and we filmed season 19, and that's when Motor Trend was in some serious financial problems, and they started, unless you had a multi-year contract. My multi-year contract was up in 2022, and they were renewing me for another 3 years, and that's when all hell broke loose.
Sure.
And now the network is defunct.
Right.
Just showing runs, and they're showing a couple of Saturday shows that are very inexpensive to do. But,
right.
So because of that, we started our own network, SpeedVision, and so we can talk about that. SpeedVision.
I love that. I miss SpeedVision, and I was saying to somebody the other day how cool SpeedVision used to be when they had stuff from the Le Mans in the 50s and just all kinds of variety of stuff. And so you're reviving it or just starting it kind of from scratch?
Well, we're starting it from scratch with the name. So what happened is Bob Scanlon, who got together with Roger Warner back in ESPN days, started SpeedVision originally. SpeedVision got sold to Fox. It turned into Speed, and then it turned into Fox Sports.
Right.
So it became the NASCAR network, basically. And so Discovery Channel hired Bob Scanlon to start Velocity Channel. And so he was the president of Velocity, which went on for years until Motor Trend took it over. I started with Discovery before it was Velocity. It was called HD Theater. We were one of the first automotive programs in high definition.
Right. And I never realized that you were in high def.
High def. And we were the first automotive content in high def.
Wow.
And so we started during COVID. Somebody forgot to renew the patent or the copyright on the name. And so Bob recognized that. We got a lawyer, and within 6 months, we owned the name SpeedVision.
Isn't that amazing?
So there's 5 original guys, a bunch of guys that retired from Discovery, and myself. And then we have a lot of great investors, well-known names I can't mention, but from the industry, and they're investors with us. And so we're about to launch my new program, Catching Classic Cars, on SpeedVision.
I love it.
And it's streaming everywhere you can find it, streaming on Roku, Fubo, Amazon Prime, so on and so forth. And pretty soon, I hope we are going to have a direct connection with one of the major television manufacturers, where it'll be built into that television set.
Wow!
And these are the 2 largest television manufacturers in the world. So it'll be built in. SpeedVision will be built into your TV and your able to watch it anytime.
That's amazing. And that's what we need. I mean, listen, there's so many shows on television that are car related that don't even, and this is not just, blowing smoke, but don't even compare to what you were doing. I mean, they're all deadline build shows. Everybody's mad and screaming, and it just doesn't, I don't know. It's just not good TV to me. I guess it is. Somebody watches it or people do watch it, but I miss the fact that, the story side of what you did and the backstory of the car and the history and all of that.
Well, that's what made the show so popular, is that it was compelling to a lot of people. So it's not just a show that's showing custom cars, because there's maybe a segment of people that watch that.
Sure.
We and you never knew what we were going to have. I didn't even know what we week to week, because stuff was coming at me. We filmed it. So it was compelling that way. It told the story. There was no throwing of tools. There was no swearing,
right,
which really was great, because families knew that they could watch it all together with the kids, and there would be no bleeping
sure,
going on in the show. So we became very popular because of that. And ladies just loved the show, too,
right,
because it was a story involved, just not the car. It was the actual story.
Yeah, we remind people all the time that come in here and say, well, I'm not into cars. Well, you're going to see there's a story here somewhere that you're going to remember something that your grandfather had, your dad had, or whatever. How in the world, though, did you still had a regular business? It wasn't as if you were just doing the television show. You had F40 Motorsports and you were selling cars.
Yeah, so what happened is that Donald Osbourne, our good friend Donald, wrote an article about a Hudson Italia I bought, and appeared in the New York Times. It was a complete one page in the automobile section of the New York Times. And Jim Ostrowski, who owned a production company here in Connecticut, contacted me on Monday morning after reading that article and asked me if I'd be interested in doing a television show. And I said, who are you? What do you mean? Is it a documentary? Is it a newscast? He goes, no, I do things for Discovery Channel, and they're looking for automotive content. Wow. So he came up to my office. We talked for a few minutes, and he got the camera out of the car that day. And that was right now, that was about 20 years ago. And
wow,
we started filming that day, and it grew into this monster of we've completed 217 episodes that actually Discovery owns, and we have another 24 episodes that we filmed that Discovery never bought from us. So
did you have any experience in television prior to that?
I didn't want to be in TV. I just wanted to do my job.
Right.
That's it. I said to Jim, I said, I'd run a business, and you can film me, but don't get in my way, and don't ask me to memorize any lines.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be the person I am. And if you think that's something special, which I don't see how that could be that special. Right. And here we are.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I mean, but I like the non-scripted part. I think that it depends, the type of personality that you are, you're better off not with a script. Trying to read something off a script is just awkward and weird. And
so my producer, for B-roll, where basically they show pictures, but it's my voice telling about what's going on. She wrote a bunch of questions down. The next day she came and she asked me those questions, and I was stumbling, trying to think of what I wrote down as the answers. Right. And she says, you memorized these questions, didn't you? I go, yeah. She goes, I'm coming back tomorrow with new questions, and I'm not going to give them to you. You just tell me and it comes out so naturally.
Sure.
I think that really, and it's amazing, I get so many people from all over the world. So the show is shown in over 100 countries now. Wow. And my voice is dubbed in 40 languages.
Is it odd to hear your own voice in Chinese? Or?
Well, what it is that what they do is you can hear my voice is very, very soft. And then and like a second later, they dub their voice over.
I got you.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. We all love SpeedVision, and that whole channel was a great channel, and we were anxious to see it come back because, it's amazing for you because not only did you do a television show and will continue to do a television show, but it dovetails so nicely with your business because we all have decided that if we could tap your phone, we could get some of the good Glenn Ross leads.
And people, magazines always say, hey, I'm going to send you, a proposal. I want you to advertise on our magazine. I said, I have the best advertising in the world. It's called television.
Yeah. And isn't that so true still to this day? The power of television is as strong now as it ever was. I mean, there's something magical about when you're on TV. I hear people say they see us on YouTube. He's the one who's on TV. It's like, wow, still has that power.
When I was given the opportunity, so we had done 2 pilots, 1-hour pilots for Discovery, and then Shauna, the girl that was in charge of programming for Discovery, came to Monterey with us, and she hung out for 3 days as we were filming without a contract.
Right.
And she said, we'd love to have you have a contract. There's more to the story. I won't get into it, but she says, I just want to warn you, your life's about to change. And I said, how's that? She goes, everyone will know you within 6 to 8 weeks of the show coming out. Everybody's going to know who you are.
Right.
They're going to be, and so that, and she said, the power of television is so immense, you can't believe it.
Right.
And she was right.
Yeah. It had to be overwhelming in the beginning, I would imagine, that you.
In the beginning, I'd go, really? I mean, I go to the grocery store, the local grocery store, and people are flagging me down wanting to take pictures. And I go, this is weird.
Yeah. Well, it's like anything. Be careful what you wish for. In your case, didn't even wish for it. It was just one of those things that, it happened.
It was, but and people say, how, they hang out with me for a day or something, and how do you put up with this? I said, I don't know. I love it. I love the people.
Yeah.
I love talking to them. I love making them happy.
Sure.
And I had a family in from Italy yesterday. I mean, they're shaking.
Right.
They're so nervous. I said, calm down. It's just me.
It's just me. Yeah. That's what people don't realize about famous or infamous or whatever it is, that, you don't realize is that everybody's just regular people. We're just all normal people and do the same things that you do.
And I learned a lot, I've known Jay Leno for a long time, way before the TV thing. We've been friends for many years. And I watched him and how he interacted with people, because I was just nobody, and hanging out with him, talking about cars. And he would give people the time of day. And I saw him once where this guy comes up and he says, oh, Mr. Leno, do you remember my son, Charlie? Now, he didn't remember Charlie, right, but he said, oh, my God, Charlie, shook the kid's hand. You got so big. It's great to see you again. Yeah. I saw that. And I said, man, he could have just walked away, but he made that kid's day. Yeah. He made a difference in that kid's life. And so I do that everywhere I go.
Sure.
Especially with kids. And people come up to me and say, I met you at the Baltimore airport 3 years ago. And I go, oh, yeah, how you doing? And they go, really? You remember me? I said, no.
No, I have no idea.
What difference does it make?
Yeah, it really doesn't matter. I know you now, and here we are. That's right. I have a buddy of mine I went to high school with, and he would always say, you remember that blonde we met 20 years ago? I go, no, not really. Can't remember that far back.
Treat people how you would like to be treated.
Yeah,
It goes so far.
Yeah,
I had a good upbringing, and my family, I had strict manners growing up, and all these little things carry you through life. And so just be yourself. And if you just be yourself, everything goes good.
Yeah, if you try too hard, it doesn't work. And and if it's like I open the door for my wife in the car, and people look at me like, "Why is he opening the?" I don't know. It's just the way I was raised. I don't know. That's the way isn't that what you're supposed to do, right? So F40 Motorsports is your dealership arm of your enterprise, and I was on there today looking, and I see you have a Z8 Alpino, which it's on my list if it would just keep getting out of reach.
I know. We could have bought these cars like 6-7 years ago for $80,000-$90,000.
I know.
$75,000. Yeah. But they keep going up.
How about the
F40s? So I started in the auto body shop business, and my father had an auto body shop / restoration shop. He restored cars for a living when I was growing up. He was the founder of the Model A Restorers Club of America in 1952.
Wow.
So cars were in my life. I had no choice. I went to college to become an architect and found out after the first half year, 6 months of that, it wasn't going to work for me.
Sure.
So I went back to work for him, and I graduated art education from college. And then continued the business.
Right.
All of a sudden, I was fixing Ferraris, doing the things that I wanted to do, and it just took up from there. I named the business F40 because I had bought a wrecked F40 and I fixed it for myself. And then this building came along, and I said you could sell the F40 and pay for the building all at once, or take a loan out.
Right.
I just sold the F40 and I paid for the business. So I called the business F40 Motorsports.
Yeah, I was always curious about that. That was one of my questions I was going to ask. How's the current state of the market in your perspective right now? Is it good? Is it flat? Where are you?
It has been flat all winter, but I see it getting better. With the administration changing, people are reluctant and to pull the trigger. Winters in New England don't make it doesn't help us either.
Right.
But of course, we sell cars all over the world, just like you. And it doesn't matter. It's sunny in California or Florida, so it doesn't really matter.
Sure.
But yet, I see it as flat, but yet coming back.
Right.
And the good cars always sell.
Yeah.
You're always going to get a fabulous car. Doesn't matter. It's always going to sell.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to watch that and see that. And of course, you still, like we were joking earlier, I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, Glengarry Glen Ross, but it's all about the leads. They want the best leads, and if they don't get the leads, they're not going to be able to sell and all that. The stuff that, I imagine your phone still rings, and there's still barn finds out there of significant cars, right?
I get so many calls and so many emails every day. Now, maybe 1 out of 20 is a good lead.
Sure.
You get guys that, and nothing to do wrong with Chevrolets, but maybe they got a 36 Chevrolet four-door sedan that's rusted up to the door handles. Right. And they see these TV shows, they see the auctions, they say, "Oh man, this thing is worth millions."
Right.
So, and that's not the stuff. But I had a call yesterday, and I hopefully going to buy the car, Porsche Speedster.
Nice.
So that popped up yesterday, and working a deal with the guy right now. So, yeah, and like I said, the advertising, the show is still being aired in reruns. So I can tell when the reruns run. For instance, they had a marathon a few weeks ago,
right,
where it was on from 6 a.m. until 6 the next morning. And so it ran all day and all night, and the phone rang off the hook the very next day.
That's amazing.
We was on a Sunday, and Monday morning the phone's ringing. My secretary, what's going on?
Right.
I hang, got multiple lines going at once.
Yeah, we have the same issue when we'll have a particular car for sale, and it's been for sale for a year or longer, and we get a deposit in the morning, and then the afternoon we get 5 more calls on that car. And it's like, what happened? What changed?
It always works that way, doesn't it, Stuart? It always works that way. You'll sell a car that's been with you for months. And then all of a sudden you get 3 guys who want to buy it.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, do you still get press cars? Do you still get to drive the new stuff when it comes out?
I do. So that's kind of a unique story. So if you remember Click and Clack,
right,
Tappet Brothers Car Talk.
Yeah.
So my 50th birthday, my wife said, "What do you want for your 50th birthday?" I said, "I want to have lunch with Click and Clack."
Don't put any pressure on
it. The show didn't exist back then.
Sure.
Or anything. And she said, okay. So she tried, and it didn't work. They said, no, we don't do those things. But through that experience, I met Tommy, and I bought and got to meet Raymond also. Mm-hmm. But I met John Lawler, and on the credits he always says, Bugsy Lawler, they call him, just back from the all the food events.
Right.
And so, and John Lawler runs the New England Motor Press Association. So they asked me to come up and give a talk one night at their banquet. They have an awards banquet once a year at MIT. So I went up, and he says, all you got to do is get up and talk for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever you want. And that's it. That's all we want. Okay. So go up, and I'm standing there getting introduced to everybody, and they hand me this whole wad of papers. And I go, what's this? He says, oh, these are all the awards for tonight. You're our MC. I go, wait, I didn't sign up to be the MC. Well, no, this is what Bugsy said. You're going to be the MC. So, so I did that, and everybody enjoyed it, and I'm making jokes and things. And so they said, "Could you come back next year?" I said, "Well, if you make me part of your organization." So I became a member of the Press Association that night.
Oh, fantastic!
It's been 14, 15 years now, and I've been getting a new car to drive every Thursday for 15 years.
Wow, which is not an easy task. I mean, you got other things going on. It's not just like you got all the free time in the world to go lottie-dotting around, right?
So what I do is I test drive the cars, and then I used to write some columns for them.
Right.
When we were filming, of course, the manufacturers loved it because I'd be driving a different car every week, and they'd see the logo in the film and stuff like that. So they loved that. But what I do now is I do videos that go on a YouTube channel, as well as it's on a regular website where I'll give you a 5-minute dissertation of the car, what it's like to drive, and I don't pull any punches.
Right.
You know, I call them like I see them, and they're better cars. All cars right now are great.
Right. Exactly.
Some are better than others.
Right.
Some are better than others.
Yeah. Even the worst car on the planet is better than the worst car on the planet in 1977 when it was a Plymouth or a Dodge, what it was, a Volare. Yeah.
I'm driving the large Lexus SUV right now. It's a 350.
Right.
And it's a beautiful car, but the engine noise, because it's a 4-cylinder turbocharged, the engine noise is atrocious when you get on the gas.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the thing is going to fly out from underneath the hood.
Yeah, it's amazing when you go from something really good with lots of power to something like that. My wife has a twin turbo Mercedes SUV, and that thing's got all the power in the world. And you get into something else that's maybe equally as fast, but it's so noisy, it sounds like the thing's going to explode.
Right. So there's different opinions, but in general, all cars are really great right now.
Sure,
That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, 0 to 60 in a Camry is faster than my Trans Am growing up by a long shot.
That's right. That's right.
So, what are your thoughts on today? I was just reading about this new Ferrari, the F80. $3.9 million, 799 built, and they've already sold out before they even built them. These modern supercars with 1 trillion horsepower and all that, it's crazy. I mean, the amount of wealth in this world is crazy, I guess, is the answer.
Well, it is. I mean, the wealth is there. And a lot of the times you get car guys that, true car guys may want them, but half of them go to people that aren't car guys at all. They're just a status symbol.
Right, exactly.
Nothing to say bad about Ferraris. I love Ferraris. I've restored them for years and been involved with the hobby. And whatever Ferrari's making today, God bless them, and they're doing a fabulous job.
Sure.
But a lot of those cars they're pre-sold because you get on a list at the Ferrari dealership, and unless you buy every one they tell you you're going to buy, you won't get the next one.
Right. I mean,
so you can't pick and choose. You know, that's the unfortunate.
I just saw, I just saw a BMW Skytop Roadster that hadn't even been confirmed for production, and it sold out.
Yeah. Well, I just got a pleasant call yesterday from Shelby in Las Vegas that I was on the list for a 2026 R code GT350, and they had a cancellation yesterday, and I took it. So I'm getting my GT350R at the end of the summer, and I love Ferraris. I couldn't afford to buy that car, but there's certain cars, I have an RS6 Avant Audi wagon, which I think is spectacular.
Sure.
Had new Corvettes. I've never bought new cars for myself, but recently I've been buying them. I'm keeping the Audi. Sometimes I sell them after I've used it for 6 or 8 months. But I have a GT350 65 GT350 number 150.
Right.
And so and it's Wimbledon white with the blue stripes. And so I'm getting this one, and they're going to make a chassis 150 for me too. So
nice.
Got 2 GT350s.
Yeah, our friend Lee Cross, who does the GT350 reunion tour, and that's always a fantastic time. I just don't have a GT350 to go on it with. So
I've been trying to get on for a while, and Lee, I finally got a call from Lee actually a month or so ago after seeing him at the Grand National Roadster Show. And, and he says, "Okay, I got a spot for you. You want to come on?" But unfortunately, that week this year is something where I have a commitment to do an appearance, and I can't make it. But, next year I'm going for sure.
Yeah, I hear you. It's always funny how life gets in the way of some of these things we want to do. And even though we travel too much, there's still certain things that you would drop everything just about to go do. So.
I would do it in this case, but it's a large autism charity event, and I'm a person who just can't say no to that kind of stuff.
I understand. That's a charity that's near and dear to you. I understand that completely. And certainly it's wonderful that. Isn't it great that you can help and contribute to things like that?
Very fortunate. We have a daughter, Kimberly. Kimberly's 35 now, and she's doing fine. We've made all the changes in life to accompany her and make sure she's going to be okay. She owns her own house now, and but an aide has to be with her at all times. She can't. She has no speech. Right. She can't herself. She can't do anything for herself. But she's doing great. But I had the opportunity because I had her on my show and making sure that people knew about autism. I was able to talk about that. And the network really, they loved it.
Right.
That I would talk about it. So I had a platform that nobody else had,
right.
being able to speak about autism to the world. And that brought me to the point where the movie Rain Man came out. And when that movie came out, it sort of changed my wife and my lives in that people understood a little bit more about autism.
Right.
Go to a grocery store and they think that they could catch it. Can I catch autism?
Right.
No, it's not what it's about. And so because of that, after the movie, it was about a year afterwards, I got a Buick in to restore, and this girl was in charge of the project. And so I called her to give her a price for the restoration. And I said, yeah, I got to tell you, this is kind of weird. I have an autistic daughter, and this looks just like the Rain Man car.
Mm-hmm.
That's because it is. Barry Levinson, that was the director of the movie, saw you on TV with your daughter, and he bought the car after the movie was filmed, and he wants you to restore it.
Wow.
So we restored the car for Barry. And then Barry called me when it was done. He says, Wayne, I got a problem. I just sold my house in Connecticut where I was going to put it. Would you store it for me until I find a place?
Yeah.
After about 3 months, he called me. He says, I'm still looking for a place, Wayne. I said, I got a deal for you, Barry. Why don't I keep the car, and wherever you want it, I'll make sure it gets to that location.
Right.
You give me a week's notice, and I'll make sure it's in California, wherever. And I'll store it for nothing for you as long as I get to use it to promote autism charity events. And he said, yes, well, it's been 14 years and he's never seen the car.
Wow.
I keep it. I just call his office. I talk to his secretary. I say, I'd like to take the car to Florida for this charity event.
Sure.
I'd like to take it here, wherever you want, Wayne. But, you don't even have to call us. I said, I have to call you just for my peace of mind that
right.
you know car is. That's
right,
all.
Right. Yeah, you'd hate for him to say, "Oh, well, why is it there?"
Right.
Wow.
So anyways, it's worked out really well.
I mean, you talk about an iconic car. People say, "Oh, my car was in a movie." Well, it was. What was it? Well, it was parked on the street in a scene that was, a half a mile from there, and not really a movie car. The Buick from Rain Man, that's about as iconic as you get when it comes to movie cars.
I feel that the car was a character in the movie, just as much as Dustin Hoffman or Tom Cruise. It was a character in the movie.
Sure,
a big part.
Absolutely.
And that car it was funny. I asked Barry why he chose that car, and Barry grew up in Baltimore and used to in the row houses and used to sit out on the stoop at night. And the doctor that lived up the street about 2 miles would go past him in that same car color and everything every night. And when he thought of that movie, he said, we have to find this yellow Buick Roadmaster.
Yeah, that tells you how cars speak to people. I mean, right. Even at a young age, he was looking at that as, and in his mind, it was probably a symbol of success, of doing well, and so it's just amazing. We all have similar stories to that, I think. So I understand too. You were at the event, the Heritage Invitational down in Charlotte. I hear that's an amazing event that's come out of nowhere. Seems like.
So Ray Evernham are really good friends of mine, and so Ray asked me to help with this because he's getting into his IROC series stuff now, and he said, "Would you help get some cars for this event the Smith family wants to put on?" And so we got some cars together the first year. I think we had 10 or 12 cars. It grew into the second year. I think we had 20 or 22 cars. And this year we had, I think it was 80 cars. Nice. And so it really has grown. The Smith family is just spectacular people and such gracious hosts. Marcus and his brothers and have done a wonderful job. They own, 12 NASCAR tracks across the country.
Right. Their dad was Bruton Smith, and for those of you who don't know.
Bruton Smith, yeah. And they're wonderful people, very giving people. Sure. And so they built a track very similar to a Goodwood style track across the street from the Oval in Charlotte. And they built this huge facility, and it sort of mirrors the one at Sonoma that they built, very modern architecture and stuff, right on the track. So you can watch races there. It's so that they can have actually 3 different races going on at the same time. And the clubhouse is so it's divided up in 3 different sections. So the Porsche Club could be having an event, Cadillac could be having an event, whatever. And it was exciting. We had the first race there. We were able to watch the first race, and it was vintage Trans Am cars.
How nice.
And it was great that Scott Joy won the race. That's Mike Joy's son.
Sure.
And he's a wonderful driver. And I was so happy for Mike, who's a very, very close friend of mine, that his son was able to win that race. But for anybody that wants to go, it's the Auto Fair weekend down there. So they have a flea market within the racetrack. The AACA has their regional event outside racetrack, and then the Smith Heritage is going on there. So the Smith Heritage is going to grow. We hope to have over 100 cars next year.
Wow. And there looked like some spectacular cars, including the one you took, which is the 33 Lewis Special, which I'd never even heard of. So car guy I am.
The only car, so the Lewis Special was built in 1948 and raced it raced at Bonneville actually early on. And then it's the only car to race all 7 Pebble Beach Del Monte Forest races.
Right. They used to have races. That's right.
They raced it right in the Del Monte Forest, and then Golden Gate Park. It was a Western race car. And so I bought that at a Mecum sale, and Dominic Dobson actually did the restoration on it. But a really spectacular car. And I paid a lot of money for it. So when I came home, my wife says, "You paid what for that car?" And I said, "Honey, 2 cars." She says, "How do you figure that?" I said, "Well, it's a period-built hot rod and a period-built race car. I got 2 cars for the price of one."
I'm a hero here. Golly, honey.
She didn't buy that. She didn't buy that.
Well, we all have our own little stories that we come up with our wives, right? So, what a terrific-looking car. I'm sure Randy will find a picture of it, one of our guys here, and put that up for the show. But also wanted to say congratulations on the Spirit of the Conqueror Award at the Amelia this year. How fantastic was that?
No, they tricked me into that. They said, "You have to come to the dinner." I said, "Oh, okay, I'll go." And so they didn't tell me anything, and so I was speechless.
Right.
I'm never speechless, but when they gave me the award, I didn't know what to say.
Right.
And I was totally floored. So thank you.
Yeah.
I'm being awarded out at the museum out in Tacoma, Washington this year. It's America's Automobile Museum.
Sure.
And it's sort of like you start getting some of these awards, you think, "Oh my God, they're the Lifetime Achievement Awards."
I'm not done yet.
Go, wait a minute, not dead yet.
Exactly.
I got plenty of gas in the tank still. So.
Absolutely. And your buddy Ralph Morano won the Chief Judge Award with his 36 Packard pace car.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I went to see Ralph's collection, I don't know, it was probably 6 months or so ago, and he just had a medical procedure, and he shouldn't have been doing anything. And I felt terrible, but he wanted to show me every single car in his collection, and he stopped at every one, and he wasn't rushed. He wasn't like, I'm not feeling good. I kept saying, "Are you sure you're okay?" And he was like, No, we're cool. And I know
it's the adrenaline gets going in your body. You forget about your ailments.
I mean, the Darrins that he owns are unbelievable. Packard Darrins, for those of you who don't know, were a body style that was made like Fleetwood or Brougham or any of these others. And he's got more than anybody, right?
He does. I think he's got 12 or 13 of those. Almost every color, but he's got Dutch Darren.
Yeah.
So the one Dutch owned for himself.
Yeah, that's the one you really want.
Ralph's been a great buddy. We're going to be together next weekend at the Audrain vintage car tour. So we'll be riding in a 16 Pierce Arrow and having some fun.
That sounds like fun. That sounds like more fun than London to Brighton, although that's got to be on your list if you hadn't done it yet, right?
So we've done it. We didn't complete it. It was one of our most popular episodes, the highest rated episode we had ever had, because we broke down constantly, and people just love to see somebody in pain.
Yeah, especially somebody that they're famous, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking for a 2-cylinder car, so I get there faster. We had a 1-cylinder Model A Ford, and it just 10, 15 miles an hour just wasn't doing it. And then I blew the head gasket finally. That was the end, 5 miles from the finish. So.
Kind of, at some point in time, you're probably praying for something to go wrong. It's just like, I'm done. I don't want any more, right?
Yeah. And then, so cars have been really good to me, and the people have been really good and gracious to me all these years. I've been to Pebble 49 years.
Wow.
40 in a row.
Wow.
And I missed the the 40th one in a row because of COVID. So I went back and I finally got that mission done. But
good.
And then people say, "Oh, are you going to quit after 50?" I said, "No, I'm going to quit after 49." So I'm not going back this year.
Right.
I'll probably go next year, but I want to focus on other things like Goodwood.
Yeah.
And then my new book is coming out. So we just finished it yesterday.
Wow.
Proofreading is going on right now, and so that goes to press. It's called Wayne Carini, My Life with Cars.
How fantastic!
And so that's out this fall. We're going to unveil it for the first time at Goodwood at the Revival over in England,
right?
With Horton Books, and then we will bring it to the United States at the Audrain Concours. We're going to be doing book signings there.
Sure.
And then, of course, we're going to be all over. So it's published by Dalton Books.
Yep.
Which is a big publisher of automotive-related books. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, and there's been quite the renaissance with automotive-related books, from the one on Jim Hall that George Levy did, and I mean, there's just so many books out there, but they're really doing well, and the efficiency of printing is a little better than it used to be. So you don't have to print too many or too little. You can kind of print to order, and that seems to help the process. Yeah.
We're gonna try something different with the signings, because if you have to haul boxes and boxes of books around with you, so I'm gonna have dust covers. It's a hardbound book. I'm gonna sign dust covers wherever I go, and we'll send you the book to your house.
That's a great idea.
Signed dust cover. You don't have to worry about putting it in your suitcase and weighing your suitcase down. You take the dust cover home in a manila envelope,
sure,
with a signature on it.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, there's nothing worse than lugging around a big old book, right?
We'll have 10 or 15 on display so people can thumb through it and take a look and decide if they want to buy it. Sure. And then we're already on to the next book. It's My Life with Chasing Classic Cars. So My Life with Cars, My Life with Chasing Classic Cars.
That's great.
So those two books. And then I wrote a children's book, and we're looking for an illustrator right now, Pop-Pop's Car.
Ah, I love that. So, that's fantastic.
Yeah, my grandson's eyes.
Right.
Cars through my grandson's eyes.
Oh, I love that. Scott and Judy Pruitt, our friends on the West Coast, Scott Pruitt, IndyCar driver, and they've written a couple of children's books, and just fantastic.
I was with Scott at the Heritage. Matter of fact,
isn't he a terrific guy? He really is just
a terrific guy. Yeah, he was hanging with Jeff Gordon. They both came over to say hi, and two of the nicest guys in the industry. That's for sure.
Absolutely, and Scott's wine is spectacular.
So they were pouring that wine, and I'll tell you what, after the second glass, I had to stop. But I said to them, I ordered some already. It should be here in the next couple of days.
Yeah, we got a case of the Cabernet and then the Cuvée or whatever it is, and it was just to die for. It was really wonderful.
Spectacular wines, and that's a very smart move. Bringing your wines to events like that.
Absolutely.
And next thing you know, people who have never tried it before are buying it. So
we have that happen around here with the coach, Dick Vermeil. He's got his wine, and he brings it to the events at the Simeone, the Cool Cars for Kids events and things like that. And it's a great marketing thing for him, right?
It is, and Dick is a great guy. I got to spend time with him at the Hershey Hill Climb a few years ago, and a couple of years in a row, actually. Dick is just a terrific guy.
Sure.
Terrific guy. So I've got a question. How are things at your place? I mean, you've got such a unique place. I've never been, but I've seen pictures, and I have to come.
Absolutely.
What a unique and a great idea to take a mall and put cars in it. Just fabulous idea.
My business partner is a collector of barn finds. He rescues cars like people rescue dogs. And he needed a building because his kids kept kicking him out of his own building. They said, "We've got this rented. You can't have all these old cars in here." And so he kept moving and moving and moving. And finally he found this old abandoned outlet mall and said, "This is." I mean, it was almost like it was built for our business, literally. Like somebody said, in 40 years from now, somebody's going to put classic cars in this building because all the doors are wide enough. It's all one level. And we thought, okay, this is cool. We're going to try it. What the heck? So proof of concept was, could we get to 1,200 cars? We did. It was too many. And so now we're hovering around between 900 and 1,000 cars, which does,
It's unbelievable. How do you manage that? I don't know.
It's crazy. People go.
Have great people working for it.
We absolutely have fantastic. I've got 6 car specialists that are on the phone all day long, and it's funny. People will say, "Do you have any Thunderbirds?" And I go, "I don't know. We probably do." The odds are that yes, right. we have a Thunderbird. I'm certain. So, but what's interesting is, as of late, the inexpensive stuff is really slow. The mid-range, the 30 to 50,000, is going like gangbusters, and it's mostly driver quality. People don't want perfect cars because then they're afraid to drive them, and then they're also realizing that about low mileage cars. A car with 5,000 original miles. What do? You can't drive it.
That's right.
So,
yeah, that's true. But I would watch the drone shots that go through the building. That's spectacular.
Yeah.
Taking a tour with a drone. We've really. Stuff, really
we found a guy who would literally fly it underneath like a old what do you call those old wagons, the vending wagons they had, and they just fly right through it, and just he was maybe a little nervous when he did it. But it's one of those things that I had a business plan for this before it even was a business. This was my dream. If I could have a building that I could put 1,000 cars in, what could you do? And you realize quickly that you couldn't own all the cars. It'd have to be consignment only. It can't be. Sure. You can't go out. You'd have 12 private jets going all over the place, and you still wouldn't be able to fill it. So, but we'd love to have you down someday and give you the nickel tour. And I know your schedule is busy, but if you're ever in the area, certainly let us know. And we hope that I know we'll see you soon somewhere. We always run into, especially Chattanooga, which is one of our favorite events to go to. So
Chattanooga's a great event. I'll be there again this year. I go to the Barber Museum and on Thursday and Friday, and then I come to Chattanooga. Same weekend usually. Sure. I'll be in we're talking about hill climb, so I'll be next 2 weekends. I'll be at the Wilbraham, Massachusetts hill climb. And that's the hill that all the manufacturers, Stevens, Duryea, and Rolls-Royce, and Duryea themselves, and Winton, all the manufacturers in that area would test their cars up that hill. Sure. So it's historical significance to it. So we'll be there then.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it. So glad we could finally do this, and we'll have to have you on again because I still got a couple of pages of notes to chit-chat about.
Sounds great, Stuart. Thanks for having me. And listen, I know you're going to be busy. Carlisle's going on. Yeah. So you'll be busy.
We'll have a good weekend, I'm certain. So everybody, Wayne Carini, thanks again, Wayne. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes on the Classic Auto Mall Show.
The Classic Auto Mall has more than 1,000 vehicles for consignment in our huge 8-acre climate-controlled showroom. It's a real indoor mall. If you'd like to know all the advantages of buying and selling a car through consignment, the information is available on our website, or you can talk to a classic car specialist who can answer all your questions. It's easy, safe, convenient, and it doesn't matter where you are. We sell worldwide. See our huge selection of classic and collectible vehicles at classicautomall.com.
And we're back with the Classic Auto Mall Show from the Classic Auto Mall Studio, Morgantown, Pennsylvania.
What a show.
What a show.
What a guest. Wayne Carini. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, so glad to have him on the show. And
great.
He's got a lot going on in his world, and it's just nice for him to take time out of his day to be on our little old show.
Yep.
And I'm not diminishing what we do here, but it's just I'm sure there's more important things for him to do. Oh, there I am.
There you are. Yeah.
Thank God.
There you go.
Thank God.
The monitor works.
Yes, the monitor works, doesn't it? So where do we sell cars this week?
Where did we sell cars?
I don't know. I don't even have the list. Or I've lost it.
Just start naming cities and states. Nobody will
Baltimore.
Okay.
Sioux City, Iowa.
Keokuk.
Is that right?
How about Sinking Spring, Pennsylvania? How about Ocala, Hawaii?
Wow.
Palm Coast, Florida. DeSoto, Missouri. Narvon, Pennsylvania. Mount Morris, New York. Horseheads, New York. Visalia, California. Honeybrook, Pennsylvania. Henderson, Nevada. South Portland, Maine. Hobart, Indiana. Wexford, Pennsylvania. Glen Allen, Virginia. Quakertown, Pennsylvania. Lamholt, Sweden. Berwyn, Pennsylvania. Wausau, Wisconsin. Wausau. Williamsburg, Ohio. I knew you'd know that. Cincinnati, Ohio, and Accord, New York.
So did you sell an Accord to Accord and a DeSoto to DeSoto?
Yes, I did.
Ah, okay.
Is that the first car to Hawaii?
That is the first car.
How about
to Hawaii,
that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey now.
And we sold one to Alaska one time. But,
Yes.
So, yeah, how cool is that?
Cool, very cool.
So some of the new arrivals in this past week or so. How about the 2007 Saturn Sky convertible? Great. This is a great entry-level car to get into the hobby of fun cars. Silver birch over black. Only got 29,000 miles on it. Garage cab. Peppy. 2.4 liter, 4-cylinder, 5-speed manual. So that's nice. You got.
I have a friend on his second Solstice.
Yeah.
And I've always liked the Sky because it's got a little more linear. It's not as rounded.
Yeah. It's a different looking car. It's weird, different. You couldn't tell it if you didn't see them sitting side by side, but we sure can when they're sitting side by side tell the difference. So.
And those were the last cars built in Wilmington, Delaware at the Boxwood plant.
Yeah, absolutely.
A little bit of trivia there.
How about this is the oddball of the week, the 1978 Chevrolet Monza station wagon. I don't even barely remember these. I remember a Vega wagon that looked similar to this. Saffron over beige, 79,000 or 76,000 actual miles, rare ride, 355 cubic inch V8 4-barrel in it though. So somebody stepped up because I can't imagine it came from the factory with that.
Right.
No.
Don't imagine so. And it's got a Muncie M21 manual. So this thing's a little beast.
Wow.
Yeah.
It is, but it's a sleeper because it looks just like a regular pedestrian car.
A pedestrian little Chevrolet Monza station wagon that you never see. And how about the 73 Plymouth Roadrunner GTX, dark green metallic over green. I love that dark green metallic.
Yeah, I do
I think
too.
that's a cool color. I like all the dark greens, whether it's Pontiac, Verdoro green. Chevrolet's got a green, and I can't remember the name of it for some reason, but I'll think of it at 4 a.m. and I'll call you.
Okay.
This one is got the window sticker and the broadcast sheet. Numbers matching 440 cubic inch V8. Numbers matching A727 Torque Flight Automatic. One of less than 75 built. 118,000 actual miles.
Yep.
Probably been redone though, so really the miles is not quite the thing you should focus on.
Right.
You should focus on the fact that it's there's probably not a nut and bolt that was untouched on this car, as many of them are when they come in here. So also the 1987 Volkswagen Vanagon GL Synchro Westphalia, pastel white over gray, 97,000 actual miles, a 1915 cc electronic fuel injection 4-cylinder. Ooh, that's a mouthful. 5-speed manual, another 5-speed manual. Solid camper. This is a cool little car, and this has got a cult following like nobody's business.
Yeah,
people love these.
He's got a little refrigerator, a little bed.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I mean, and glamping or this sort of off-roading kind of thing is in right now.
It's an in thing. So
and as they say in Germany.
Do they say that in Germany?
This is cool. I drove this thing. I forgot how cool and fun it is to be right up front.
You are there. There's
Right?
no nose. You're right there.
I think I wrote it as it's like a movie screen to the road.
Yeah, you feel like you might tip over forwards.
Yeah, it's cool.
Like those Econoline vans back in the day.
That's right. It's pushing you as opposed to
pull. You put
pulling.
whatever.
You got it.
Yes. Also, a new arrival, the 63 Studebaker Avanti R2 Coupe, supercharged 289 V8. Avanti turquoise over turquoise. So this is turquoise.
It's turquoise.
Rebuilt 4-barrel BorgWarner T10 4-speed transmission. Very original. One of 1,832 built. And talk about ahead of its time. These cars were... These were like spaceship-looking things to people back in '63. I mean,
well, and compared to what Studebaker turned out, most of their cars, they were sharp.
Little the cool thing about Studebaker is they were a little outside the box. They were a little rebelistic, if you will.
Yeah.
And this car really stands out, and not everybody appreciates them until you kind of give them the story on it. A guy might look at it and say, "Oh, that's okay. That's something weird from the '60s," but it's really there's some fascinating stuff about these cars.
Big enthusiastic group.
Yeah. Oh,
followers.
huge group.
Yep.
And last but not least, full disclosure, this is mine.
Was yours.
Well, it's still mine. Sell it. The 1965 Honda CA77 Dream, Neptune blue over red. Great color combination in this thing.
It is a beautiful bike.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a bike guy.
Yeah.
Beautiful bike.
Fully restored. High revving 305 cc parallel twin engine. 4-speed manual, smooth runner. It's a crowd pleaser.
It's crap. So you just park it. It's got chrome and blue and red.
People just they flock to this thing.
It is a beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful bike.
it's funny how people are like that. So there are certain things that just attract people. And if you go to a gas station, you probably won't get to leave for a couple hours.
Right,
so
right. I'd put this one in the living room. It's kind of like a piece.
I'm thinking about putting it in my office if it doesn't sell.
It's a beautiful piece.
If it doesn't sell,
You could.
because I have room in my office.
Ed's got a bunch of motorcycles in his office.
He's like 12 in his office. So when we return return, we will have our conversation this week with our buddy Keith Martin from Sports Car Market Magazine. We'll see you in a couple of minutes.
Nice.
Whether you want to buy or sell a classic, collectible, or special interest vehicle, you need to visit the Classic Auto Mall website for more information. If you're looking to buy, you can easily search our inventory of more than 1,000 vehicles on the web at classicautomall.com.
And we're back with the Classic Auto Mall show from the Classic Auto Mall studio in Morgantown, Pennsylvania. Another fantastic guest. And now we're on to our weekly segment that we're doing with our friend Keith Martin, who's joining us. I'm sorry to make you keep getting up so early. I like to sleep in.
It's tough. Yeah, my pina colada usually arrives about 11.
Well, good thing. Do you get the one with the umbrella in it, right? So,
exactly,
yeah, okay,
exactly.
Good to know. So, once a week segment, and for those of you who don't know, Keith does a blog on Sports Car Market's newsletter every week. And then, of course, there's one in the magazine as well, too, for every month. And this week, it's Just Chasing the Maserati, which I love the title. That sounds like a good start of a book. And you ended up your new place that you live in. Imagine this: there's an SCM subscriber that lives in your new building, right?
That's right.
How cool!
And he's got a hand-built Maserati 350S from 1956.
Wow!
He had it built in Argentina, and it's got a quattroporte 4-cam in it and a transaxle, and the thing weighs nothing. And he said it was a sunny day, and he said, "Why don't we just go out for a drive?"
Right.
I said, why? And he said, because the sun's out and I've got a great car and you've got a convertible and we should just go out and rip through the hills.
I love that. When is the last time you did that, just on a whim like that?
I would say it's been over a year.
Right.
What happens? We get busy and then the weather's not so good and there's this excuse and that excuse. And
exactly.
When I pulled out of the garage, and I pulled the top down on my 91 Alpha S4, I had this feeling I was 16 again.
Right.
If you remember the first time you popped back the top on a car, suddenly you're one with the countryside.
Absolutely.
You're like in a side of a television set watching the stuff go by on the glass. Mm-hmm. But when you pop the top down, you smell things, you see things, you're really integrated into the landscape you're traveling through.
Sure. Well, and when you're playing chase with the guy in front of you, that's always a lot of fun too, because that gets you at one with the car and the road and with him as well.
Well, when we come out of our condo, you turn left, and there's about a mile straightaway up the hill into the Vista Tunnel, which is a long tunnel. And he's got 4 big exhaust pipes with no mufflers. So it's, when you hit the tunnel, the first thing you do when you're 16 is rev your car and honk your horn.
Of course. Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do in the tunnel. You're supposed to honk your horn is absolutely what you're supposed to do. And if you've got something that sounds cool and you're not in mom's Camry, then you rev the motor. Absolutely. Right. So, and
it was as much as you can. And it was good. We weren't going fast, but the roads were twisty 2 lanes through the Oregon wine country. And I just thought how lucky we are. Those of us who have experienced convertibles in our lifetime appreciate them. And there's a large group of people in the world who have never had a convertible, who will never have a convertible, right, and will never get that sense of really what it's like when you put those 2 front clamps, knock them loose, pop the top back, and then we've got a nice Bluetooth stereo in it. And so you turn that up and maybe some Led Zeppelin.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, perfect. It's something good road music that gets you going. And, before you know it, that right foot's getting deeper and deeper into that footwell.
That's right.
Well, and of course, now your Alpha is a manual transmission. So
no, automatic.
It is an automatic. Okay. Since
I had my stroke, I've had a lot of trouble driving.
Sure.
So I've got the Alpha S4. I have a Jaguar V12 automatic. I've got a Porsche Sportomatic. And what I've had to learn, Stewart, is that there's really not much difference between a good automatic and a good stick when you're just cruising through the mountain. You're not going to be shifting much anyway.
Right, exactly. It's funny how your perception of things is different than the reality of it is, because it's I don't know, mythical to drive a manual transmission, and it's cool that you know how to do it when a lot of people don't know how to do it. But performance-wise and practicality-wise, it's not very practical. You got too much going on anyway these days with cell phones and your coffee and everything else you got.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm taking my family on a little tiny 4-day mini SCM excursion to Bend, and we're going to take the Alfa S4, the Lotus Elise, at Chris's Maserati, and my 65 Alfa Giulia Spider Veloce.
I love it.
Have a nice four-car caravan.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, you were talking about, you said you were going up through Oregon wine country. I have to go down a little bit of a rabbit hole here. Why is Oregon Pinot Noir the best Pinot Noir in the history of ever?
It comes from the Montana floods. Right. It was 20 or 30 or 40,000 years ago. There was a big dam up in Montana, an ice dam, and it broke. And when it broke, it brought all the sediment between Montana and Portland all downstream within a wall of water that was 50 feet high and moving at 60 miles an hour.
Wow.
So you can imagine if you're an Indian sitting on the bank saying, "What's that sound?"
What? That sounds rumbly.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow.
It deposited all of that really fine sediment that has become great for the grapes to grow in, and then we also have a good climate for it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, on top of that, lots of wet weather and all that good stuff for it. I never understood why, but I just always understood that I knew how good it was, and thank you for that insight into that. So, is this going to encourage you getting out with the Alfa? Is it going to encourage you to take some little side Sunday afternoon, half-hour trips just to get out and blow the carburetors out?
The injection out.
Yeah, true.
It will. I'm getting better, Stuart. When I first had my stroke, I was paralyzed on my left side completely, and I've got that coming back pretty good. And so it's so much fun to drive the Alfa.
Right.
The S4 is a calm, sophisticated car. It's not like my 65, which is almost a weapons grade machine.
Right.
The 91 is comfortable, has power steering, power brakes. It's got AC. That when I bought the car, of course, the guy said it just needed a recharge. Only $2,500 later, the AC was blowing cold, and I like the car, and it's summertime, and I can get to my car by myself and take off on a drive, and it's even though it's not a wild and crazy Alfa,
right?
It's still an Alfa Romeo after all these years.
Yeah, and those cars are so cool. There's just a feel and thing about an Alfa Romeo that just is second to no other car for some reason, and it's everything that they do. They just seem to do very well for each era that they built the car.
I would agree with that. I've had Alfa since I was 16 years old.
Right. Well, that's what started Sports Car Market Magazine, was the Alfa Romeo newsletter, right?
Market letter. That's right.
Yeah, market letter. Yeah. Isn't that funny?
For whatever reason, it's the car that I have a real affinity for.
Sure. And you're like all of us. There's not many cars you find that you don't like, I would imagine. It was like we were talking to Wayne Carini about, he's in the new car pool where he gets a new car, and he says all new cars are great. Some are just greater than others, right?
I also think the problem with new cars is that they don't ask you to do anything to be really great cars.
Sure.
Like my son's going to borrow that new 911 to go on that 15-mile
tour,
but he's not going to have to. Last year he took our 75, and he had to work hard to get to 90.
Sure, yeah. And harder to stay there, right?
Yeah, and with everybody else passing him, and so we're a little concerned because these new cars, just like the SL55s, you're going 140 without even thinking about it. Right.
And no idea how. You really don't have a sensation of speed when you're in a cocoon like that. You just don't. It doesn't translate.
Right. No, with my 65 Alfa, when you get above 75 or 80, things are starting to vibrate, and the car's kind of talking back into you, and it's saying little things like, "Are you sure you want to do this? Are you really sure?"
Yeah. You're really pushing the envelope there, Keith.
You got those 165 15 tires on it, and it's making you work. And to me, a car that makes you work is really a fun car to have.
Have you seen the picture of the first generation of the 911 next to the last generation of the 911? The width of the tires is like, wow. Yes. That could fit like five.
Our 75 is an impact bumper, narrow body car, and it's not as sophisticated as the new cars. Doesn't have power steering, doesn't have power brakes, doesn't have any nanny aids.
Right.
But it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's
that 2.7 motor makes a great sound.
Sure.
And the car is taking you back in time.
Yeah, it really is. It's amazing, isn't it? How those can evoke memories from years gone by. Just a smell, a sound, a feel, a touch, whatever. It's amazing.
Yep.
So
go ahead.
No. I was just going to say I love having this conversation with you because it's always some different subject that we're talking about, and it's always something that I think that people are interested in hearing because not everybody gets to do what you and I do. We get to experience a lot of cars because of the business we're in, that we get to experience other people's cars too. And that's such a joy because, you can only own so many cars in a lifetime, no matter how much money you have.
Right. I think the key is to make yourself get on a nice day, I remember my daughter, she came into work one day and she said, "Dad, let's take the Duetto and go to Mount Hood." Right. I said, "Alex, I have so much to do today." She said, "Dad, you're going to have so much to do when you get back too, all right?"
Yeah,
just get in the car. Let's go to Mount Hood.
And with that, we will say that is probably the best advice that we've probably heard all week. So, Keith Martin, again, thank you for being on every week. We really enjoy our conversation, and we've got a little special offer that we'll play here in just a minute, and we will catch you next week, and I'm sure we'll have equally as fun things to talk about.
And if the sun is shining, I want you out in your car.
It's shining right now. I got to go.
Here's a special offer from Sports Car Market Magazine. Get a 6-month subscription for just $19.95 by going to sportscarmarket.com/test drive and the number 6. That's sportscarmarket.com/test drive 6. If you're a buyer, a seller, or just general classic car enthusiast, publisher Keith Martin says,
"We've been around almost 40 years. This is the Wall Street Journal of the collector car world."
Activate your 6-month trial of Sports Car Market Magazine by going to sportscarmarket.com/test drive 6. Offers for a limited time. Be in the know with Sports Car Market. The Classic Auto Mall Show with their host, Stewart Howden. Executive producer, Steve Seth here. Produced and engineered by yours truly, J.R. Russ. Video editor, Randy Lammy. Available on classicautomall.com, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Music courtesy of the Pat Travers Band. For tour dates, contact, and stuff, visit pattravers.com. Produced by Car Smarts Media. Copyright all rights reserved.